Okay, it is 6 p.m. on Monday, November 6th, and I'd like to open the Newfane regular select board meeting and welcome everyone here along with BCTV. Our first order of business is always to approve the minutes of previous and see if there's any additions or amendments to those, to the agenda first of all, and then approve the minutes. So do we have any additions to tonight's agenda? Hearing, yes?
No, I'm not sure.
Do you have an addition?
I'll bring it up at towards the end of the meeting. Okay?
I think if we add it to the agenda, we need to have it at the beginning.
Well, it has to do with the job descriptions.
Yes?
Conversation, and I would request that we have an executive session.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So that's
if that-
really not an amendment, that's, you want to add that, you want to add an executive session to
Yes.
that.
So I don't know if it's appropriate to bring that up
Job
now.
descriptions in old business.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
We
Thank
can-
you.
We could take a vote on that.
okay, thank you.
All right, and if there's nothing, then I'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
You don't need it
We
to
don't need a
approve it,
motion.
only if there were changes.
All right, so there's no changes other than that one. Okay, moving on to October, the minutes of the regular meeting of October 2nd. Are there any amendments or additions to that?
I'll need,
Motion to approve them.
I will need to abstain since I was not at that meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay. Anything else? All right then. With the correction that Gary was not at that meeting, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I don't think it says that he was there. He said he needs to abstain
sorry?
because he
Yeah,
wasn't
I
there.
wasn't there.
I know. Right. So you just want,
Right.
right. All those in favor of
Aye.
approving it?
Aye.
Aye. With one
One
abstention.
abstention.
Okay. All right, so moving on to October 16th regular meeting.
Make a
We'll
motion
need
to
to
accept them.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. And now on to the budget meeting of October 30th.
Yes. I have a correction.
You have a
On
correction?
the third line, it says the meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. by Todd Lawley, Chair.
Where is it? Yeah, that definitely should be corrected. Okay, thank you for pointing that out, Marion.
You're welcome.
Although, with that correction, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to
That was a
approve.
budget meeting?
That's
Yeah.
the budget meeting.
I wasn't
You weren't
here,
there
but my
either.
name's on it.
And your name is on there, so that needs to be taken off. Okay, any other corrections? With those corrections, are we approving?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I abstain.
Approve as revised.
Approve as revised. Okay. There we go. Put those away. All right, our next order of business is the road business and the road foreman and road commissioners report.
Mike Fontaine started work last Wednesday, and that's going very well. Mike Wynot's probationary period was up on November 3rd, and has been doing a great job and been an asset to the crew. At some point, we need to sell the old front mount York rake, and I just need to know how we go about doing that. We've got the new one, must be 4 or 5, 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
So it's time the old one could go away, and just need to know how you want to go about it. Mike had expressed interest in it, but I don't know how you want to dispose of it, so.
I don't think we've done that recently. How do we go about doing that?
Does it need to go out for a bid? or availability for bids?
The bidding policy says if you're purchasing something, you need to put it out to bid, but
Right.
it doesn't cover selling
Selling
things.
something.
So
Mhm.
I guess
Well, they
the
always
answer is
have
I
put
don't
stuff
know.
out, they sell them.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the pickups and stuff, I mean, might as well just put it up to bid. What comes in, it comes in now.
Yeah, I would move to make up a document and put it out to bid.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Depending on what its value is, an ad is, you know, close to $250. If the values are that close, I don't know that I would spend to put it in the paper.
It's about 500.
So we could post it in our public places and
Yes.
also on something like Front Page Forum
There you
and on the
go,
website. Yeah.
rather than doing
Rather
the
than
whole
full advertising.
formal, yeah.
That's probably enough.
Okay.
Lafayette has finished the band rail on the two bridges on the South Wardsboro Road. And that got finished up Friday afternoon, I guess. We're sending the 09 Sterling to Twin State again to see if they can do more to keep the exhaust smell out of the cab. The 09 came back from Tenco and Barry after having some work done on the sander, and the 13 Mac is up there now. I've asked Barrows and Fisher to fill the tanks at the Williamsville Hall with oil. Since it's staying open a month later than usual, we were at a half a tank, so we decided we better fill it, so just in case, to get us through till December 1st. The storm last Sunday and Monday, the 29th and 30th, caused extensive damage all over town. We put in many hours cutting trees and making emergency fixes to get roads open, and they did a great job. We've got, I think you probably have it in your pile of stuff, some of the repair work that needs to get done. It's a pretty extensive list. I think we ended up about $300,000 damage. So it'll be a little bit until everything's back to normal, but we'll get all that we can done, and then the rest of these, most of these jobs will get put out for contractors to do. We did rent Jersey barriers to protect the two spots on Dover Road where the road's gone. And we've been taking shifts. Somebody goes in every night and checks to make sure all the markings are still up and so forth. We did have a van hit one of the Jersey barriers. So we've been going in every night. Somebody different has been checking to make sure everything's up, and they seem to take great pride in knocking the cones down or throwing them in the river. So we're hoping to get them out to bid as soon as possible, and then I believe the contractors then have to accept the responsibility for the safety of it once.
Are
Once
there any portable, is there any way to light that area with reflective tape or anything?
We did put reflectors we got from V-Trans on all the Jersey barriers now. So that's all marked. And it looks pretty good with lights on it. It actually shows up fairly well. So. Mark and Megan from V-Trans spent a great deal of time here last week. And they were really helpful. They were here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, going over all the sites with us, and they'll be back again this week when FEMA comes around to look at some of the damage. And then next Monday they're coming and holding a meeting for anybody that wants to do any of the jobs to go over any questions. And I think that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions?
Do we have any sources for the 300,000 that may be required?
It looks like our share will be about 24,000.
Okay.
The rest should be covered by the state. There'll be incidental repairs that we're making on roads that weren't significant enough for them to consider, but I don't think those will be anything major.
Okay.
Where is the rest of the money coming from? Is it a loan, Shannon, or is it something from the state?
It's from the state, and then it looks like they're applying for a FEMA declaration too.
Okay.
So
Wow. That's good. Baptism by fire,
Oh, it was great.
yeah.
I just happened to go in at 1:30 in the morning to see how things were going, and they weren't going well.
No,
They had gone.
Yeah,
yeah. And Mike, was on the road the next day, and Mike was out there with the jersey, is it Jersey barrier, is that what it's called? Out directing traffic, amazing. That was great, thank you so much too, Mike, for helping out like what you did. All right, do we have,
Made my day to see that stuff.
pardon?
Made your day.
I said, made my day.
Made your day?
Yeah. I like that stuff.
Okay, so we're accepting, we need a vote to accept?
Yes, you need a motion to
We
accept
need a
it.
motion to accept this, the road foreman and road commissioners report?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the report, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, South Wardsboro Road issue?
Is that us?
Yes.
Oh,
I think that is us. Take this. So hi, my name is Erica Bowman, and I am a landscape architect working for Richard and Alice Thal, to live on 268? 260 at South Wardsboro Road. And is anyone here familiar with where that is?
No?
You are, okay. There, on the second page here, there's a little locus that shows
Thank you.
the location. I'll just show you in here. So it's a little bit small in comparison to where the town is, where the red dot is. But on the front page, you can see some of the images that you may have seen if you've ever driven on South Wardsboro Road. I know some of you guys.
oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
the Falls have been living at this property for 45 years, taking pretty good care of it, beautiful gardens. On the front page, you'll see some images of the daylilies in bloom, and those are the things that are probably most familiar to a lot of you who have seen the daylilies against that beautiful barn. That over the years, the road, every time it has been redone, the level of the road has gone up, and right now it looks about 8 to 12 inches higher than it was when they originally did the landing outside of their road. And it's potentially dangerous and for sure a bit unsavory to see. And actually, Richard has a picture of his wife, Alice, you can pass this around, standing with one foot on the original finished grade and the other foot on the new finished grade of the South Wardsboro Road top of asphalt. And as you see on that,
If you hold it the other way.
oh,
No, straight up.
portrait.
Like that?
The other way. That's
Okay.
So you can see that it's gone up pretty high, and right now there's a drop off that a tire could drop off, or the other issue is that the asphalt is crumbling perpetually.
pictures in there.
And there's some images of that on the front page of that document of the site evaluation. So we have a proposal for helping to solve that problem at the Thal's expense to do the landscaping. They also have an existing wall that needs rebuilding that is in conjunction with this area. And what we propose to do, if you can turn the page to the next page and see the schematic, is to rebuild the wall and create a planted buffer between the walkway, the pedestrian walkway, from where they park their cars to their house. Create a buffer, a pedestrian buffer between, you see where that is? The walkway is here. And we propose, this is a new wall. On the third page, you can actually see more clearly the distinction of the wall in blue and the beds in green, if you're having any problems seeing this. The buffer would raise the grade to slightly higher than the existing grade of the road, alleviating the problem of the drop-off, and also creating a beautiful bed of mixed evergreen and perennials, potentially also utilizing their existing daylily collection as well, and bring the pedestrian walkway down below the rebuilt wall. And what we're seeking from you right now is both your feedback and your approval, or the direction of the next steps, what we would need to do in order to satisfy the town that this is a good plan, and or make changes to the plan depending on what you have to say. If you continue through the booklet, you will see some perspective drawings that show what we're proposing here. So the existing condition does have a wall that is further away from the existing road than what we're proposing. So we're proposing to move the wall in a little bit and at the same time raise the grade so that we don't have that condition. Also put a recycled granite curbing along the roadside, exactly, just like that, to allow for drainage, to help direct the drainage, give a clean edge to that asphalt road so that it no longer crumbles, and also give a clean edge to the bed.
Like a catch basin too, right?
A catch basin, yes, that would drain,
So you're gonna bring it up to the same elevation the road is, cause you're like within
yes.
6 inches or so, like, or.
So, one of the questions that we had was, if we proceeded with this plan, is what to expect in the future in terms of regrading the road. Is it going to be refinished again, and will the grade continue to rise? Because that would make us change our decision of how high we would put this curb. Currently, we're saying 6 to 8 inches, but if we think that the road's just gonna keep going up and up and up, then,
You don't have to curve too high, right?
yeah, too high.
Usually like 7 inches or something like that,
Yes.
prior to blacktop, but as far as the pavement going up, I mean, one of the things I've talked to Christopher about, and when Todd was in here, what I'd like to see them start doing is grinding the asphalt down. And before they pave, if they're gonna put
Yes.
down 3 inches, take down 2.5 of it, and not just that, I think you get a better job, because you put the plane back in the road, that is, you just sort of have to shim up all the way around, and use a lot more asphalt. There's places that stuff 8, 10 inches thick, it's, probably that's one of them right there, But that's what I'm recommending, I'd like to see it if we could, because not just that, we could use the blacktop chips to use on some of the dirt roads that we got and stuff.
And I will say that I have a few other clients in town who have been negatively affected by the raising of the asphalt in terms of drainage. And so I'm sure that anyone along that road would probably be happy to adopt that plan that you're talking about, and just keeping a consistent grade rather than just keep going up. Yes? Here's another close-up of the condition that I was describing, if you'd like to take a look at this and pass it around, of the cracking of the asphalt. So, because there's this sudden drop-off, just created by the nature of the, where is it?
No, I mean,
Oh, yes.
the rain and the wear of the road.
That, and just because there's not, typically when you build a road, there's a graded shoulder that takes up the grade, but the way this road is graded in this condition, it just sort of drops off right at the edge of the road. And so this is the reason that one of the reasons that we're proposing that nice clean curb, so that it looks clean and
Keeps it from doing this.
keeps that from happening.
So Erica,
Yes,
from
thank you.
the zoning board side of things,
Yes.
the center line of the road to the edge of this, are you inside of our right of way at that point, or still on your property?
Well, the center line to the edge of the existing road that I marked on this plan is about 11, is less than 12 feet. The existing edge of road. And so I know that you probably have a 25-foot right-of-way in this. So actually, we gave an extra foot of buffer from the edge of the road, so yes, you have, that's 20, is it 24 or 25 feet?
25, I believe.
It's just, I think it's 25.
We can make it 25. If we can make it 12 and a half, if that's what you need. The issue that we have is that then we have this condition of no asphalt between the edge of our curb and the road that we have to figure out how to deal with.
There is a permit though for work in the right of way, which I think
Okay.
will cover that.
I mean, what I see you doing, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it.
And it's
a
actually
good
the select
idea.
board that would give that permit.
Doesn't have to
So,
be exactly
We
within the.
also.
I think it would still need to go to zoning.
no,
Well,
it's
no,
done
it
by you
shouldn't have
guys.
to because it's within our right of way. I mean, he's not building
Right.
a structure, he's just,
The select board actually grants those permits
Right.
instead of zoning.
Richard had a comment.
Since we've had the house, we've raised the barn once already because the road was above the level, the water was rushing down into the barn. We had to raise the barn up, and it was at level, and now it's once again above level. The road is above level of where it was when we raised it. So it keeps, and I'm not gonna raise the barn once again, but that's just something that we've done already, so in order to try to prevent all this from happening. I actually spoke to the gentleman who was putting the road and the blacktop down the last time. I don't know, that was what, 2-3 years ago? I can't remember now. And it started to crack right across the middle of the road, from the edge to cross to the other side. And I said to him, you know, it's got a hump in the middle, and can you just maybe do it the other way, because there's a gutter or a gully on the other side of the road, shallow, that Jay knows about. For the water to go into it, it goes into that gully
Swale.
and then comes in through a conduit, if that's what it's called,
Yeah.
underneath the road.
Right.
And we then take that down into our property and through another conduit from the edge of our property to the brook. All that water then goes there. So no matter how much water comes, we just can't handle it at all, and it's just been an ongoing problem.
And this is going to be handling the water because it's going to be hitting up against that stone
Curb.
curve and going down into the drain.
Yes, we actually have 2 drains proposed. One is right here. This is the actual catch basin. And this one is planning to take a little bit less water, and mostly its goal is to keep water from going over their stairs and icing up.
So the catch basin is very close to the road, but this one is closer to your property,
Yes.
to your property, and closer to your.
yeah, the catch basin by the road's got the curbing around it, so the water coming down the hill will be guided into
Right.
that curbing. And then from there it goes and it'll go down the other way.
Any concerns about snow plowing?
Just, like the daylilies are tolerated well, it's always gonna have that slop thrown onto it from the road.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the evergreens may not be thrilled, but, I'm sure you can experiment with things that will like that location.
Yes.
I went over with Richard about a month or so ago, and, it looked like a good idea for making the edge of the road safer too, because if somebody catches a tire on it, they're gonna end up right in his garage or down in his lawn.
Or flipping over.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to accept the plan as they get it drawn up.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the plan, and any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of accepting the plan?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, everybody voted?
Yep.
It's unanimous. We're
Thank
accepting
you.
the plan.
Very much.
Good job, David.
If anybody's interested in, this is where the water is from under the road and then down into this and then into another conduit that goes down the road.
Actually, you turned that into a pretty nice
Actually,
little
you made that
water,
beautiful.
water
Yeah.
You
feature.
did.
And Erica
That's
has written,
actually quite lovely.
Erica wrote a beautiful article and was published in
Oh.
a horticulture magazine about
Oh
the
my
garden.
goodness, well, you're gonna have to bring that magazine in so we can read it. All right, good job.
So if anybody else wants to see that.
Yeah, I'm a friend of Gaishel's, so I walked the property with him when he was
Oh.
working there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've worked on the property several times.
We've all been there.
It's beautiful. I've seen it also. It's really lovely.
very well, thorough presentation, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck.
Anybody else want to see that?
Okay, we now have the administrative assistance report. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Sure.
Thank you.
I've started files for each project though that I can track. The damage estimates, contractor costs, employee time, town equipment materials. This allows us to document the damage and what
This goes
it
in together.
costs in order for reimbursement.
No, this is coming out.
Also, with
underneath
FEMA
the road, from the
coming
building
around,
on the other side,
there is a
catch all
chance
the
that
water comes down.
it could become a FEMA thing, which means even the tiny little projects that the state wasn't going to cover, they might cover it. So I did files for everything, even the little ones. Wade Mashure was here from VLCT last week to review the prior list of recommendations for this building. He looked at those, he did a walkthrough, reviewed the work that's been done, and then he made, I expect, a list either this week or next week of new recommendations or continued recommendations.
Good job, Shannon.
Thank you.
Now, he's with VLCT Insurance.
He is, yeah, he's sort of the risk assessor. for-
Is he the one that came years ago?
Mhm. Yep, same. So we went over the list that he had given us and what we've done and haven't done. And then he did another walkthrough for new recommendations.
For other recommendations?
Yep.
Great job. Looking forward to seeing it.
And the audit has been completed. I expect final copies will be arriving in the mail. If they didn't arrive this afternoon, maybe tomorrow. So everything looked good. They had very few concerns, and the concern they did have was very minor. So it was really a good process this year.
You can go like this.
For the landfill solar, the engineering firm finished its report, which was needed in order for the town to apply for the amendment to the custodial care status. I provided them with the town's request and the draft public notice, and so now they will package it and send it up to the state for us.
Good job. Did we ever get anything from Ralph regarding a brochure that you talked about last time? That we could actually start,
Not yet. He said he was gonna start working on that once this is up there.
once that's done,
Yeah,
it's done.
and that's done, then he felt like he could work on that. At Carol's request, she had a good idea to give out the town office surveys that we had given out to past employees, because we did have 2 new elected officials, actually 3 new elected officials, so I gave them out to the new people. I haven't received them back yet, but they do have them, so.
Nothing's come back yet?
Not yet, no. And then on the open and accepting committee, we had, it was sort of in my calendar for them to be scheduled in November to provide a report. So I just checked in with Ken regarding that, and their time frame looks more like providing a report to the select board at the end of December or the beginning of January.
Do we have any questions or comments? Any discussion? Okay, great job on all those. Let's see, do we have a motion?
A motion to accept?
A second.
Second? All those in favor of accepting administrative assistance report? please say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Great job. Okay. We have scheduled members of the public. We have SeVEDS. Yes, hello.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
nice to see you.
Great to see you all. I'm Kristen Brooks. I am the Cooperative Internship Coordinator at the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. Like I said, thank you again for having my colleague Alex Beck and I tonight. Again, tonight we are here to address the annual SeVEDS request for funding.
Yeah.
The town and the select board should have received an official letter requesting that funding. As you know, SeVEDS requests funding from every town in the Wyndham region at $3 per person based on population. So tonight we would like to provide the board with a very brief update on some of our programs since we last saw you at the beginning of August. And then have the board determine whether or not they would like to list us as a separate article, the funding request, or have us petition again last year. We recall we did petition successfully. Went to town meeting day, Alex was there, Luke Stafford was there, who's on our SeVEDS board. So we would like to determine kind of next steps forward for that tonight. Obviously, we would love and greatly appreciate it if you would list us as a separate article, as petitioning does take up significant staff and program time. Last year we spent over 27 hours petitioning in 4 towns. And as we look to kind of grow the number of towns that participate in, a lot of them require us to petition. So really, we will petition again this year if you do require us to, but again, would really appreciate it if you would add us as a separate article so we can come back, answer voter questions, and talk to the public. But a brief update on the internship program. Happy to report that in this current fiscal year, since January, we have placed we've placed 25 interns in paid internships with businesses here in Wyndham County, recent college graduates and currently enrolled college students. One of which was actually here at WW in Newfane. I placed a recent graduate from CCV who wanted to stay in Wyndham County, who really wanted to start at a business and work her way up, but was facing to actually have to leave the area because she struggled to find a job in the field that she wanted to get into. So luckily I was able to connect with her, have her and start a position at WW and looking to grow her career.
When did this actually happen?
This September.
This September?
Yep. She started in the middle of this September. Yep. So we're also working. BDCC and SeVEDS is also working with WW Building Supply and in discussion on expanding their Newfane business here. So that is something that we're in conversation with them about. But I'm going to actually pass it to Alex, who you all saw at town meeting day, to give an update on some things.
Yeah, so on town meeting day, I spoke mostly to engaging Leland and Gray in our high school program. And in early August, I shared that they had committed to, and I'm happy to say that we're working with our cooperative class. So 24 students from Leland and Gray are enrolled in this program. I work really closely with Terry Davison-Berger, who is new in her role. So it's been actually really great building some of this curricula together for her cooperative students. So these are students who are leaving for a portion of their day to go into the community to work. So we're helping either them find placements and perhaps more importantly, help them understand what they're learning at those placements. So you don't need a resume to get a co-op, but that doesn't mean we can ignore those kinds of activities. So I've been there, I believe, 4 times already this year, since September, working with the students. We start with a career assessment so we know what students are interested in, and then from there can start targeting more resources.
So is this sort of like a job development program?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is awareness. So as Kristen mentioned, some of our students and young people assume they need to leave town to get the work that they want, and so it's equal parts awareness raising and education. So what we've done so far is a lot of that education, really preparing the students for their co-op and preparing them for work so that it's a successful experience for them. So this career assessment helped the students think about where should I look for a co-op rather than just throwing a dart on a map and saying, oh well, I guess I'll work here. So using that information, we have done activities about talking about skills. So we often hear with young people, if it's their first job or they haven't worked, they have no idea how to speak confidently about their experiences. So that next job, where it's always thinking about that next opportunity, and if this opportunity doesn't help them get that next one, that would be a shame. So working on cover letter and resume, taking what they've done in their co-op and building that up. And we've also helped organize other people to come in, so representatives from the Department of Labor that we work closely with. Terry reached out to me and said, here's a list of things I'd love to tackle this year. And so with that list, I can go out and got the youth case manager for Department of Labor to come in and give a presentation on the resources available for students. Most people don't know that our Department of Labor in Brattleboro has an entire computer lab and people on hand to help cover letters, resumes, job applications. So it isn't just the unemployment office, and ensuring students know that these resources exist is really important. And I believe they're following up with that person I connected them with to come back again to do more in-depth work.
You have interviewing skills and that type of training?
Yep, it's exactly that kind of training. We call it an elevator pitch. That if you're stuck in an elevator with someone who you want a job with, can you sell yourself? A lot of people think elevator pitch is about selling a business or a product, but what we try and encourage is students to think about selling themselves. If you show up to school every day on time, it doesn't feel like much, but that's something that is in high demand. If you're the leader of one of your athletics teams, that's something you should lead with. Because our young people don't have a ton of work experience at 15 or 16 years old, it's finding creative ways to build those skills and that confidence. And throughout the rest of the year, we will start doing site visits. So that's another component, as I help facilitate the students to visit places where they're not doing their co-ops so they can learn about a variety of opportunities. And we provide both the logistical support and transportation funding for those students.
Have you taken any of these students out on these visits yet?
Not from Leland and Gray.
Not from Leland Gray.
What's unique about this cohort of students is they're in a co-op already. So they are spending time working in a local business already. And so our role with these students differs from those in Twin Valley, where they don't have a co-op program that we're working with. So that's an opportunity where, based on the needs of the students and what the teachers ask us to help provide support for, that's kind of how we approach it. And we are, alongside our annual municipal fundraising, we are also fundraising for a licensed educator for us to be able to provide more support. So it's more resources that aren't attached to your school budget vote. It's really a career counselor, and they call it pathways coordinator. So a student can find their pathway here. So we're doing significant fundraising for that, and Bill Anton has been a huge supporter and has been a great resource for that as well.
All right, well, thank you so much. Anybody have any comments about this?
I believe that last year, our number one concern was that we hadn't heard from you before that we got into the budget cycle.
That's right.
And if we have your letter on file now and had a report from you that you really are impacting this community, and especially the students here at Leland Gray and someone at WW, that's important to us. And the fact that you've worked with Luke and helped him get Mondo Video up and running is very important to us. So I think that we can probably, I can't say because we haven't gotten that part in our budget process, but I think we can probably keep you from having to petition this year.
I can add to that, Bob, if going is
Sure.
on the horse's mouth. Luke Stafford, I live in Williamsville, up on Beetlestone Hill. So I own Mondo Media Works. I started it 7 years ago out of my house in South Newfane, and was just me. And we're now 16 people. We are in the Cotton Mill building, which the BDCC owns the Cotton Mill building. which is a tremendous resource because when you consider the square footage we have, it's considered an incubator space, so our rent is very reasonable. So it allows us to invest our resources back into the business rather than to rent. So that's just one thing right there.
And you're a B Corp.
We're also a B Corp, a benefit corporation, which means that we put people and planet and profit all on the same bargaining table when we're figuring out how we're going to continue to grow. And as for Newfane, like, what does it mean for us here? Well, I'm growing a business, and I own 2 houses in Newfane, and that's because of growing my business. But 3 of Mondo's employees also live in Newfane. One lives up on Loop Road. One just bought a house up on Otis Lane, up at the top of in Old Fane, and another lives near lives in downtown Williamsville. And those guys are all one of them has 1 child and another one on the way. So they're very much contributing to the local economy here and not just keeping it all in Brattleboro. So I can honestly say that BDCC has been instrumental in the growth of my business. I care about it enough that I'm on the SeVEDS, Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategy Board. I'm also on the Newbrook board here, so they've allowed us very directly to contribute to the economy, both in Brattleboro and here.
Thank you for sharing that. It's important, I think, to the town that we do see work being done with people who are living here. So we're very happy, I'm very happy that you came and shared that with us.
And we'll certainly be here on town meeting day with data in hand for everyone to be able to learn as well.
Good.
It's great to see how enthusiastic all of you are and how you've grown a lot in this last year since we met you last time. And I just wish you all the best. And having been in education, in elementary school and working with high schoolers too, I know how exciting it is when you can have children go out or young adults go out, I should say, and start working in the community. I had that experience in upstate Vermont many, many years ago during a summer camp program. But it was basically the same thing where we were just being contributing. We learned how to do many different skills by contributing to different places in the community, and we learned a lot. And I think what you're doing all year round is amazing, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think at this point, if the board wanted to decide if they wanted to require a petition or not, I don't think it would be inappropriate to do it tonight. But it's up to you.
Do us, you don't have to have
No.
a petition, right?
Right.
Well, it's up to you guys, but if you wanted to make that decision tonight rather than wait for budget meeting, I think it's fine if you make that decision.
So we have a letter request,
Yes, we do.
and how much was that for?
$5,178, $3 per person.
That's what it's been about, right, for
Yeah.
every
Yes.
year?
Same as last year.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, told you before when he was here, I think it's when he was, August or something like you said, I mean, I like that you acted the high school now.
Mhm.
But I remember the first year you guys come and asked, the thing I didn't really like, you guys were just sitting in the colleges and the community colleges and stuff like that, and like I said, there's a lot of kids that aren't gonna go to college that need that push into the job thing. And it gets them, you know, nothing else it does, if they might work a couple of years, then go on to college after, but I like it that you're starting in the high schools like that.
I think this is absolutely vital to keeping kids in this community where they can start their own families, start their own businesses, and build their families right here in Newfane. I mean,
There's enough jobs out there.
Luke's already showing you
Places,
an excellent
so.
example.
Can we use all of those as testimonials?
Oh, sure.
Those were great
Yeah.
testimonials. But that's exactly what we're aiming to do. Everything that they're saying is exactly what our programs hope to achieve.
so
Good.
do we want to wait until we have our budget meetings, or did anyone want to make?
I'd make a motion.
You want to make
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to accept the SeVEDS 2018 proposal in the amount of $5,178 as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And do we have further discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor? Okay, it sounds Sounds like it's unanimous. Didn't hear Chris, but I'm assuming that was. Okay.
Could you find a position for Chris? Machine operator or some experience.
Well, and to be clear,
I'm on the other end.
I'm grateful you mentioned.
I've been
that.
up, now I'm going down.
We also do adult education as well. So, that is something we do. We're always, retraining, and adult education is something that we work really closely with the local tech center and the community college as well. So.
Yeah, I like it, because I talked to one of the guys at the high school, and they said, they don't have the money to do the whole vocational thing, but there's enough private people out there working that they could use these kids to get them in and train them and show them different things, and I think it's great that you get them out. Like I said, not all the kids are going to college, and it's at least gets them in the right step, Yeah, and they all need to work, get away from that computer once in a while, so. Yeah, good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming again, too.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Luke.
Okay, moving right along to unscheduled members of the public.
I have a quickie that's unrelated to the three of us. The west side of Sears Road, below the culvert that drains our property and above, has no drainage ditch. So when the water gets heavy and flows, it flows across the road into our neighbor's basement. I started to dig out what used to look like a ditch, but if the town could either say, yeah, we'll do it, or let Charlie and I take care of it and pay us back. We need a solution. Right now, there looks like there used to be a drainage ditch beyond our mailboxes to the culvert that goes under the road. But between that and the culvert that's on Sears Road, there's no ditch. And so drainage is sort of random.
You know what he's talking
Anyway, so I just...
Where is it related to your driveway, right?
About another 25 feet down from my driveway, there's a hump. And that's where the culvert goes under the road.
Right, I know
From
that.
below that, and right now, below that culvert on the right-hand side as you go down, the recent storm created a ditch, but then it hit the flat where there was no continuing natural ditch, and then it went into Charlie and Susan's house.
Yep.
So I dug out part of that to get to our mailboxes, and beyond our mailboxes, somewhere shy of the stop sign, there's a depression that looks like may have been a ditch at one time. But something needs to be cleaned out in that 75-foot stretch.
I think there might have been a culvert there at one time.
Right. So anyway, this is a plea on Charlie's and my behalf. So there we are. I'm done. Thank you.
Chris, can you work with Jay and take a look at that?
I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks for mentioning it. Any other unscheduled members of the public?
That's us.
No, I think we have some scheduled
Yep.
members of the public coming up. So let's get a recycling report.
I think you have the report.
I do have it.
And then I think they're hoping you were, but I just wanted to give this out. I received this afternoon. It's just some feedback from a resident.
Thank you.
It is, yeah.
Would somebody like to read this for the
I'll
record?
read. This is written to the town select board members it's written by Jay and Jake Murato. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Town select board members, we are writing because we are so unhappy with the current recycling situation in Newfane and are hoping a solution can be found to once again place recycling bins somewhere in town. We understand the problem with certain people, parentheses, weekenders, question mark, dropping off their trash, and of course that's unacceptable. Shannon said the efforts are being made to look at other locations in towns with limited hours if necessary, so that residents can once again have a convenient spot that will encourage more recycling. Maybe some residents have trash/recycling arrangements that are working for them, but we don't. And we imagine that there are many other residents who find themselves in the same situation that we do. We're already paying quite a bit monthly for a dumpster at our business, but the arrangement doesn't include recycling. We'd like to be able to take our recycling somewhere local while stopping at other local town businesses, and think that there are many other residents who feel the same way. At least we hope so. If it isn't made extremely easy to recycle, then people will toss cans, bottles, etc. into their trash, and none of us want that. It's not what our community is about. Shannon said that you are considering sending out a survey, and we think that's a great idea. Thank you for taking the time to discuss the recycling situation at your meeting and for all you do.
Thank you. Do we have any comments about the letter, or have you talked to this person? Has this person come to your?
I think that I put together a short note after the last meeting that was attached to that maneuvering template scale information. And I think that fundamentally the three of us are unsure of how, not how, but based on what will you make your decision? And so, which is really what that note tried to ask. Is it, so that's really why we're here, is to try to ask, to understand something about what will drive your decision-making process, and what do you hope to accomplish by making that decision. So that's kind of why we're here.
Well, thank you
Yes?
for being
No?
here and keeping the fire burning. I appreciate you keeping the fire burning, and I've thought long and hard about this, but I don't think that we have come together as a board and discussed where we're going and what is driving our decision. I think personally, I think I spoke with Shannon a couple of times about this, about a location. The location is extremely important. I do believe that I'm in agreement with Jay and Jake in that even though many people are happy with what they're doing now for trash collection and recycling, there are, I think, even though the neighbors that I talk to have a company come and pick up their trash and their recycling, and they're happy with it, and they've done this for a long time, they do miss and would like to see a community recycling continue. And so they're happy with it, but they do miss having a local recycling. We talk about it, and to me, the first thing that is like a fence post for me personally is location. So that perhaps answers your question. Anybody else want to share?
This also sounds like that Jay and Jake they have a solution for trash, but not a solution for recycling. And that they're looking for a solution for recycling, and that they would like to be able to continue to take it someplace local. And we find ourselves at Fieldstone Lodge much the same position.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could get somebody to pick up our trash and our recycling, but we're kind of off the road and up a bit, and so it makes it hard to get to us. So we're also in the same kind of boat here. It'd be nice to be able to come down here, but we just take it on to Brattleboro right now.
That's what we do. We've always done that.
Yep.
I actually thought that anybody who picked up your garbage have to offer recycle. They have to offer that now.
They do.
They
have
do.
to. Yes.
Even for commercial
They're
service.
supposed to have a thing that they pick up
Yep, they
to
do.
recycle too, so
Yeah.
if they're not doing it, I mean,
Those people have a dumpster, and the dumpster services don't necessarily offer recycling. I mean, you can
but
put your
if
recycling.
you want to recycle, they have to They still have to take it though. 'Cause I know, like, I know,
But you pay extra, you know, for the recycling.
you know, Phil and
Yeah,
Karen
but
got a
you pay
dumpster down there. and
to
they-
go down
They
there.
have for recycling? Maybe I should let her know that in case, sometimes the haulers don't really tell them that.
I think what Tristan was trying to get at is what is the procedure you're going to go through in order to make a decision though? I mean, you know, we talk about what different people are doing, but are you going to try to find out what the town wants, you know, so you have something driving a decision, you know, whether it's to do nothing or to, you know, go with Mike, or I don't know, do you have sort of a plan of meetings or anything that you've thought about? I know you haven't really met since our last meeting, but you don't have a whole lot of time, right, with the budget season looming?
Right.
Well, let's,
Well, I think the first thing you'd almost have to do is have what it's gonna really cost. Like I said, and then that way you go to town meeting with it as an article, if it's gonna cost, you gotta raise another 100,000 or 50,000 or 200,000, it has to be put onto the article for the town to vote on.
right.
I mean, right now, everybody's just talking, but now we gotta come up with numbers, right?
Well,
I
you
mean, it's hard
have,
for us to go out
We need
to
a
ask the
location.
people.
Before you
you
can
do
get the
have,
numbers.
I mean, you do have a lot of numbers in the report. That's kind of what we did, was to provide you with,
Yeah,
you know,
but
the
that-
cost for various options. We didn't include a piece of land, that's something that you would have to figure out.
One of the things that I was thinking about discussing, you know, getting opinions from you all, was the idea that when Eddie Droop came and said that he had control of the property over here, and that he would appreciate the opportunity to have the property that is next to us. We have not pursued that as to the details of that, or even if that would be acceptable as recycling. But that is something that we perhaps would want to talk about further.
The people don't want that mess like we had before here in the village again.
Absolutely.
That's why they got rid of them.
Absolutely. And that's not necessarily how it would be set up. You could have everything from, you know, gates that go up and down, if you put your little card in there, to all kinds of different ways to keep it from being a mess like that.
But I mean, even like another year or so, you have to start composting too, right? So then
Well,
you have to
well,
have
no.
The 21?
Yeah, but does that, I don't remember if you just have recycling bins, you know, that's if you're doing the full-out transfer station, you
Yeah.
have to offer it. I'm not sure if you just have bins. If you
I
have to do it.
don't think you have to provide composting services if you have recycle bins, because you have no way to control pests and rodents.
That's something mandatory, you gotta compost. I mean, you're supposed to
I
do
think
the
it's different with
compost in
transfer.
here, right? So where's that, I mean, the garbage guy's gonna have to pick it up.
Yep.
So I think you're fine, you're gonna have to have it, if you have a place, you're gonna have to provide a place for them to put the compost. And that wouldn't work well right in the village, I wouldn't think.
No, but I think if you just have the recycling bins, I don't think you have to do the compost there. I have
Not
to
right
look
now,
into it.
but I think it's
Gonna
gonna
have to.
come time.
I'm not
For
sure,
long.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either, so I mean, as I say, there's a few things you have to check out, I mean, like, to really go in front of the town, you're gonna have to have real numbers, real everything, you know?
That's it.
I have a meeting on Thursday, I could find out for sure. If that's gonna be necessary.
Well, there was the idea that we had originally talked about of doing a survey of citizens and finding out those who would bounce back the survey and let us know what their thoughts are to give us some direction. And we had the vote at the town meeting, but that was a pretty small subset of the true property owners in town. I think it'd be awfully nice to be able to hear what the property owners want to say, because we haven't heard that. We only heard it at the
First
town
letter
meeting,
we've received.
especially when we present to them solution sets and costs.
Costs vitally.
Yep. That we can then find out from them what, okay, if these are the costs, what would you like to because you're driving the boat. Otherwise, it's got to go to Brattleboro some other way. So a survey costs us what, $250, $350, somewhere?
Yeah. And I think it would be more receptive if you add a link to like a Survey Monkey.
Yep.
So that people don't necessarily have to mail it back in or bring it back in. They could go online and do it.
You know, you get electronic
Yeah.
survey even.
Could also do a double-sided piece, and you use what's called a Cheshire label. The same level that mailed it to you, then it comes off and mails it back to us.
I think that someone, Lynn, she was saying that there was a survey that she was needing to send out for some.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
don't
the
think they're
planning.
ready yet.
That's the
though.
planning.
I think the planning might not
Okay.
match up well.
Well,
So I think a survey of some type, where that we hear from
well,
the property owners would be a very good thing and would give us some guidance as we go into the budget.
I'm worried that the survey, without any realistic costs.
Well, we have the numbers that the committee gave us, and we could probably sharpen the pencil with them a little bit more on
Well, the
those.
survey could almost
Go
read
out
it
with that.
to see if they want us to look further into recycling,
Yep.
to get the real cost, do this, and this, by the town meeting, to have some real numbers to present on a vote on an
That's
Australian
true.
ballot.
But I'm thinking that the answers that the people are going to send back on the survey, if they don't have costs or, you know, the kinds that, more definite information, I'm saying, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to have this, or, and then not realize that, okay, we're gonna have to buy some land for a location, for a, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, get money from somewhere to, have the hauler come in, and, I mean, so there are a lot of things that would just survey what you want. I think we need to actually make it more realistic as to the cost to the townspeople.
I mean, we did provide you with all those figures.
Yep.
Except the only thing we didn't tell you is what a piece of land costs.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have figures from Jamaica, we have figures from Westminster West. I'm sure Bob Spencer could probably provide you with figures from multiple towns if you want more of them, but, you know, you can give a ballpark figure of
Right, and we'd have to
Well,
explain that it's a ballpark
$150,000
figure on
would
the
be-
survey.
what?
But we'd have to explain that it's an estimate, a
Sure,
ballpark figure.
but you set
on
it high so that you
Yes.
come
Yeah.
in low.
Yeah, then I think the survey would be, we'd get a lot more accurate information that way than if just putting it, you know, a wish list.
So I think that, I don't know if you want a motion or a
Well,
procedure, what's our favor here?
and what is our favor here? Do we need to work on this and
Well,
develop a survey?
I'm sorry, I have a question, Shannon. When the committee was here last time and we got forms, and it was suggested that we fill them out and give them to you, did you get one from all of us? And if so, what are we doing with those forms?
I didn't, the people I got them from,
Well, I
sent them to them.
sent a letter.
Yeah, yours was in a letter and you
And I filled
returned
out a
one and I
form.
sent them that for their feedback.
I mean, we weren't really looking for your feedback on, like, answering the form. We
No,
wanted
I know.
feedback on how should we improve the questions, or do you think this question is not going to get the information, or that
No,
kind
I
of thing?
understand that. I mean, I think
Could you
it's
draft a
important.
thing like a survey of what you think you'd want to say on something like that for our next meeting, so we can look it over?
Well,
I mean, as long as you've done all the history on it, and the study, and got numbers, and throw together some sort of
And put the monetary figures or
I mean, what it would say
guesstimates.
on it and stuff.
yeah, I mean, we already gave you a survey, so I think what would be helpful is if you could specify what numbers you would like, and then I'm sure we could crunch the numbers and get them for you. I mean, I think you're saying what approximately would a transfer station cost, what approximately would a recycling bin setup cost. Those are really the only two
Those are really the only
figures
two
that,
real options.
yeah, that would require any work from us, I think.
I think the others are just a little bit too complicated or unrealistic. You know, to have a compactor here, for example.
But also to put down, to have a checkbox, or would you prefer just doing what you're doing at this time? Because you need that in there as well.
I mean, I do think that a lot of people have found solutions for their own families and properties of how to deal with this. One of the things that we were very concerned about, and it doesn't seem like it's happened, that once the bins were taken away, people would continue throwing junk and garbage, and that it would be a mess outside. And I have not seen much of that, and I think people are handling things pretty well. Not everybody, but people have gotten, I think, into a comfort zone of doing whatever it is they've chosen to do. And I know that many people have said, well, they're quite happy with what they're doing right now. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we do know that people are going to Brookline and putting junk in there. And I think this is one letter, but I know Shannon's got 5 to 10.
I don't have letters, they were people that came
No,
in.
but you had people who
yeah.
come and talked
Yeah.
about it, and I mean, I certainly hear from people that they hope that there's gonna be a solution. So, I mean, again, I try to think about, what does a family do? You know, it's not that long ago that I was taking my kids to soccer games and, you know, was busy every day, and like trash was the last thing on my list of to do, you know? So,
We get more bins
I mean,
and more bins, that's what we do.
yeah, I mean, I think about, those are people who are challenged by this kind of thing. You know, I've got my solution and it works okay. It's not my favorite, but I can make do. But, you know, there's other people out there, those are the ones I'm worrying about. You know, like you said, the people who are hoarding or not hoarding, but you know, it's like, if your life is chaotic, like a lot of people's lives are.
But even, I mean, I'll speak for myself. You know, we've had a private hauler now for maybe 2 years. Maybe it's not the favorite thing I'd want to do is to pay a lot of money every month, but I'm very happy with the service and I don't have to worry about it. But anything we do costs money.
Yeah.
Anything is going to cost money.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I'm not sure about, but I'm a little worried about, and that is, I think that there are people who are not doing any recycling because there's no enforcement on the other end. So in other words, if your trash hauler is picking up your trash, he's not going through that to make sure that it's all pure trash and there aren't recyclables in there. And so as much as people might be happy with what they have, and there might be some who recycle and some who keep their trash separate, I think there's a lot of people who just throw it all in one bin and the hauler takes it away, or they load up their own trash cans and go into Brattleboro and pay the $3 fee. And so at the end of the day, yes, all the stuff is leaving your household, but it's not complying with what the state is trying to accomplish recycling-wise.
Well, a private hauler,
Well, I think
they pick up, you know, they pick up trash one week and then the next week they pick
I
up
understand
trash
that,
and
for
recycle.
those people who are conscientious and are separating. What I'm saying is I think within our population, we have people who are not doing that.
Do you think that they would then drive their recycling in if we offered recycling center?
I think that by making it more convenient for our citizens, that you have a better chance of people recycling. I think if you make it hard, then it's more likely that it will all be combined, or it won't leave the household, or it will end up along the sides of the road. I mean, I don't have data. I have a hunch that that's what's possibly happening here, but we're afraid to really look at that.
Mine goes to the dumpster and all goes away.
just to take this
What did you say, Chris?
I said, I have a dumpster.
Yeah, so you throw everything in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, and
Recycling and trash.
yeah, and so it's all together. And when we had recycling bins, did you use them?
No.
No. So that's within our population. We've got people doing that, and so that's
And even
something.
when we had a recycling bin, people were still doing that.
Okay. Well, so
Well,
you know,
I tell you, I knew a guy within the garbage company that actually had friends in New Jersey. And this whole mandatory thing went on, when they were trying to do the whole recycling, the markets weren't there. Instead of coming in with some trash along with it, they bring it in 100-yard trailers at a time, dump it in the landfills and bury it. Because they couldn't get rid of this stuff. And that was stuff that had come out of recycled bins.
Well, I do know.
But it was, you know, instead of, like I said, having a little bit of garbage mixed with it at the same time,
Yep.
they're just bringing 100-yard trailers and dumping it on these big landfills because there's no market for it.
yeah, I understand.
Well, we can't control that anyways.
Yeah.
It's-
No, that's what I'm saying,
That's
it's just
on our
like,
scope.
right, and that's, I mean, even with the bins, it's, you're not gonna
Yeah.
control it, what I'm saying, right?
Right.
Right.
Well,
We can't
now
control it.
they've got that single stream thing, which is not, it's not a good solution. but,
And
you know,
that's an
yeah.
important point, because that's fairly new. And that, because we've, you know, for 20 years have been driving everything in, and we separate recycling from trash. And I do composting at home. So, but now, when we drive the recycling in, because it used to be just 1 to 3, now it's 1 to, you know, whatever, 5 million. And you also throw everything else in there as well. You don't have to, you throw the paper in with the glass and it's just, so, yeah, that's at the landfill.
Can I suggest that this topic could be approached from a whole different perspective? That this whole conversation at this moment has been about the individual and sort of the process from the ground up, working to design a solution. And another approach would be that the town, you all decide that this town of Newfane stands for. And if you decide you want to stand for something that has to do with ecology or environmental sensitivity or recycling or low impact or you know, or just broadly speaking,
Yeah.
then out of that you then got the drive to then make a decision that's consistent with your vision for the town, and which would be the opposite way to look at this from what this conversation has been so far. And Frank, I have no idea whether this is an easy topic or a horrible topic, one you want to deal with or not, but if it was something you wanted to deal with, I think that it would be a good thing for the town. So I
think
just throw
that's
that
one
out
thing-
there.
I think that's one thing we heard clearly at the town meeting. And I think that's one thing we're trying to verify now, so that we could come out with a policy statement that said, you know, this is, Newfane stands for sustainability and ecology and the fact that our roads are not gonna look like garbage heaps. I mean, because our roads have had an increase in trash being dumped illegally on the side of the road since we moved these containers.
Is that true?
Yeah, we've had complaints.
Where?
I haven't
Well, on
had,
River Road, and we had complaints
That
on.
was all garbage, not recycling.
Well, it's garbage, yeah, okay, but it's the same. Once you change one thing, they started throwing it right out the car window. South Wardsboro Road. So we need to have, I mean, I don't care whether recycling or it's garbage. We need to have a solution that fits all of those forms. Because people have detritus that they need to be rid of. And if we don't give them a good way to get rid of it, easy way to get rid of it, then it's going to end up either in the garbage and thrown away on the side of the road, or taken off and dumped in with the garbage and everything else. Perfectly good recyclables that could have made money for somebody else.
I'm sorry, I need to go. I really appreciate your dedicating what's now been about 20 minutes to this topic, and however much more time you'll debate, whether it's from the top down, the bottom up, or somewhere in the middle. But thank you for taking the effort and, you know, leading the town in where we would like to see it go relative to this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts.
Well, perhaps we should talk a little bit about a survey form.
Well, the only survey I can see, if you wanna do it right now without all your numbers, is, are you in favor of living by taxation recycled thing for the town of Newfane? Or are you in favor of keeping,
That's where you go.
getting rid
We
of
have
stuff
the-
on your own?
And we have the numbers by individual household. We have the gross numbers, and we also have, they broke out by individual household what the potential cost might be. So I think that we can use those numbers in the survey form. If they're not right on the penny, they're not penny balanced, that's okay. I mean, as long as we've got people with a good idea of what it might cost their household, then they can respond to the survey.
Can we,
Well, Shannon said you're going on Thursday, right?
what was that again?
Shannon said that she was going to the meeting on Thursday and she would bring back more information, so maybe we should wait till she brings back more information.
Absolutely, that's a good idea.
I met with Bob down there Friday too, and I was actually gonna meet again this week. And, they got a lot of they got a lot of ideas of what they're changing down there too, I think, so.
Maybe we can plagiarize. Maybe we can get some information from those sources and use it to craft some type of a draft survey next meeting, run it by you, have you tweak it or correct it or add some, whatever, so that we're both in agreement with the substance of it, and then mail it out.
So you mean you wanna ask Bob for a survey?
No, she was going to the meeting just to see how things are looking.
I was gonna ask about whether or not recycle bin towns will have to provide compost.
Right, that's what I thought. But that sort of is a separate
Yeah,
question from the survey. Cause I mean, you have the survey that
Right.
we made, so,
I think we could work with that.
yeah, I mean, I think most of the questions you need are on there, you just wanted some numbers to go with them.
We need numbers, yeah, absolutely, we need numbers.
Which are in your report. So what if I took the survey and the report and plugged the numbers in?
I think that sounds like a
And
grand
that would start
idea.
with a draft.
Yeah.
And I think you wanted to have probably the large figure of what it would cost for various, you know, the recycling bins
Yeah,
or
well,
the
we can look at
transfer
that.
station, but also what the per household
I like the per
cost would be.
household, that's what I think we're gonna need, don't you?
Absolutely, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That
I
we
know,
have
I
that.
was just quoting something else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, well, yeah, I mean, what you need is the overall picture.
That's right, it all,
I mean,
it
if you
all
gotta
comes
buy a
down
piece
to
of land,
money
or if you got the land, or if
feasibility.
you got what it's
That's
gonna cost to buy
Money
these
and
things.
feasibility, we've gotta
How
have
much it's gonna
that.
cost to put it in, you know, all your permits, it's all involved along the whole
That's
9
it.
yards.
Mhm.
I mean, you could be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, you
Well,
gotta raise the front
that's
first
what-
time around.
That's what I thought when we started looking at the transfer station idea and reading your report and going through that whole idea. You know, Newfane is not way out like in Dover where they have to travel all up and down hills in winter to be able to get all the way to Brattleboro. That's really, or way up in Jamaica. That's a long trek for haulers as well as for individual citizens to take their stuff down. So I was kind of wondering about the feasibility and the cost.
Well, again, I think
Yeah.
this is where you just put it in front of the voters.
That's true.
Here's
Feasibility
choice A,
cost,
here's
is this
choice
what
B,
you'd
this will
like?
cost this
Yep.
much, this will cost this much. And I don't think, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you have to buy a piece of property that's gonna cost you $100,000 or $150,000, then you're looking at a bigger chunk of change. But, you know, the actual, I mean, the recycling bins is not gonna be a lot of money. We have the bins, you need a fence around it, which
You
I
need a
think is like
location.
$25,000 or something like that, you know?
And a way to keep them from
No, but I
doing
mean, what I'm
what,
saying is you're gonna need a
But-
permit. Yeah, an Act 250 permit.
You don't,
I
that's
mean-
not necessarily true.
Really?
It's not necessarily true.
Oh,
It depends on the size of the parcel. Over 10 acres, you need an Act 250. So there are permits. I don't think any of the permits are particularly expensive.
I don't know. Someone dealing with it that way.
Shannon, could you investigate that and see if it's over 10 acres?
But I'd say, let's do this,
Act
let her
250.
put together the thing, and we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, I like that.
And then if it doesn't have enough to it, we'll go back and add the rest to it. The
Yeah.
real numbers.
Shannon, do you have the survey? Because I can send it to you digitally. So
That would be great if we could do that. I have a paper copy of it, electronic copy. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to see us move with some expediency because time is coming. Town meeting is really just around the corner and we've got our budget cycle coming up, so we need to have our ducks in a row.
So let's do this, let's talk further about this. We'll get information from Shannon from the meeting. We'll get in for, you're gonna coordinate this and perhaps we can rough out a draft for next Monday evening. When is your meeting?
Thursday.
Okay, next Monday evening is our
It might be the next regular meeting rather than the.
regular meeting rather than
Right,
budget? Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
So how is Bum's classes?
He's, his class, it was just an intro, but he's looking forward to
Yes.
rehab.
I wish we were at the same time.
You won't be?
No, I'm in the morning, he's in the afternoon.
Well, good luck. I hope it's
Thanks.
going well for you.
And for him too.
Okay. Moving right along to town office sign options.
Thank you.
And I did notice that there's a Mommy sign out front. Is that from the old one or are they coming in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon, I hope. So after the budget meeting, where Mike came up with a good idea of somehow incorporating our logo, the people who provided the first quote called to find out how it went, and I said, well, we're more looking for something a little different, so they put together some prices to incorporate the logo, and all I had, like I said, was that little tiny one that I sent him, and he could work with that for these proofs, but what he did was go over to the town garage and take a picture of the sticker on the truck. And from that, he was able to recreate the logo.
Perfect,
Right.
perfect.
And he said if the town ended up wanting to go with him, he could then provide us the logo for the stickers if we wanted to go back to using those, so.
I like that one.
Oh, I like this one.
Oh, that one? Yeah, I think that looks nice.
I like this one.
Yep.
Which, do you like this, the one you have better?
That one?
Oh, no, I still like this
Oh,
one.
you like that one?
But I mean, either one of them's all right.
I think this one's gonna be easier to fit on the sign.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think-
Otherwise they have to cut a
I think
different
so,
size.
which is gonna be,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
this.
And
Yeah.
cost might be another factor.
yeah.
Price.
The way you get on this one here
He's
like
got them at the
this.
same price.
Oh, I
I mean,
see.
usually like what they do like that, because I have that on some of my equipment, but usually it's above it and below it.
That's
And if I was gonna do something like that, I'd have the seal in the middle, with the arch going this way and this one coming this way.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Right,
wrapping around it.
which might add more maybe, I
I mean,
don't know.
I like that, the curve, but it's,
All just
I think it
Photoshop.
might be hard to fit on
I
the
don't know, according to this paper here,
sign.
it's no different.
Yeah, he's got option C1 and
Figures,
C2 at the
Yeah,
same
yeah, I
price.
saw that.
So,
According to that figure, there's no difference between those two.
right,
right.
Plus, it includes insulation.
oh yeah.
No, it
Oh,
doesn't,
no,
no, bring
that's
back
not-
for
No,
install.
that, bring back.
Not included.
Um,
So the highway department would be willing to install it? Okay.
Now, this is, I mean, like, are these still using the same
Install it.
boards and everything we got?
Yes.
So,
So
so as I say, so if you use the same board, there's a lot of empty space up on top of this one.
Yeah, I think I like the one you liked better.
I mean, like I said, I wouldn't mind that if you put the seal in the middle and had this come down around like this and this go up around like that. So like the Newfane was square across the top, the center was the sculptor and then the town would be sculptured. I mean, that would look good like that. But other than that, I'd go with this one.
Yeah, I like
There's
that.
there's a whole bunch of people in town who use Photoshop every day and could give us exactly any number of combinations that we wanted.
I do
So-
I'm going back to this one with you. I think
Yeah, I like
this
that
looks
one.
a little bit more
Yeah.
balanced. Yeah, doesn't it? And it's yeah,
I like that, you're right.
it's
the
closer
lettering
to
is
what
better.
we actually had.
Yeah,
I like it.
Now, the other thing that we discussed, or actually it was the town office building committee that suggested we might want to think about raised lettering. Personally, I'm not in favor of it, but if, whatever you guys figure out. You know,
Well, he's quoting here,
with not
plastic
raised.
form, well, option A, no, number one, option A. Pick up sign, bring back to our sand or repaint with Sherwin-Williams white. Mount plastic form letters painted black forest green to sign, 10 inches high, Newfane, 6 inches high, town office.
I think that's just the text, you know.
That
Well,
was
the-
his first quote that doesn't have the logo on it.
Okay,
That's no logo, the first one.
And I think
Right.
with doing the logo, it's gonna be too hard with the plastic, so he didn't offer the plastic letters as an option with the logo.
This is one I like.
All right, are we taking
I'd
a
make a
vote?
motion to go
Ladies
with
and
this one.
gentlemen,
okay, I second the motion.
all right, everybody in favor of holding up this option, is this C1?
C1?
Yeah,
Say
Glenn
aye.
McCarty.
Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously, so that is our option,
C1.
And-
Fine.
we're not having,
did anybody check the spelling? Oh, never mind.
make sure the spelling is correct.
Okay, so we
He
picked
does one
that,
hell of a job with it too, he's a very good sign maker.
Yeah,
so we're looking at option B?
Option C1.
C1.
C1,
C1.
okay. Oh, with town seal, okay.
so,
Do you have a motion on the sign itself then, C1 or C2?
yeah, we did
Yeah.
that already.
I
Didn't you
thought that
vote?
was on the sign graphic.
Oh, I
No.
thought it was
Oh,
all
it was
one
on
motion.
C1.
Yeah, I
I
made a
thought it-
motion, we
it's
go
fine
with
with me.
McCarthy.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
C1.
Still
That's
unanimous?
fine, yeah.
Did you vote?
Yep, we're done.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Shannon, that was really good. All right, and now we are going toward the old business of job descriptions, zoning and administrative assistant, review and discussion. And we have, it has been amended that we should go into executive session. But I need it must state the nature of the business to be discussed in executive session, and I think,
Number 2. On this, do you have this? The reason for going into executive?
yes, it
Okay.
must state the nature of the business
Yeah,
to be discussed.
okay, so reasons for executive session, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. 1 VSA, what is that, sign?
Section.
Section 313A3.
Okay, we're not, are we really discussing the employment of a public officer or employment? I thought we were just going over job description.
And by the way, I'm saying executive session with Shannon included in the meeting. I'm requesting an executive session that Shannon joins into the meeting.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know exactly if it has, because section 313A3 has to do with employment of an employer or public officer. We're not really employing anyone.
Well, we're talking about an employee.
I guess if you're talking about the terms of their employment through the job
Talking
description,
about
it could fit under that.
a revision or an acceptance of a job description.
It could probably fit under that.
Okay.
I mean, it's really up to the board to decide if
Right.
it fits there or not.
Right. It is up to the board to actually decide, well, it has to fit this, and then,
Well, I could say my reasons, I can give you the reasons of why I would like to have an executive session. I mean, we can do it in public, but I think that, for me, once again, I think it's important for us to be working as a full group of people together in a transparent way with each other
yeah.
and with Shannon. And that's why I want it. I want it to be an open discussion and a transparent discussion within the board, not behind the scenes, and to have Shannon come in and discuss this with us.
We could actually even do that without going into an executive session.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not really discussing the employment of someone.
No, I think, I agree with the executive session.
We do. Because,
Camera.
oh, all right, well, so we have a motion. Do we have to go into executive session? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of going to executive session with Shannon and inviting Shannon to be present based on Title I, Section 313A3, please.
Are you going to discuss the motion?
Right, but do we actually make the motion, agree to it, and then discuss it, or we discuss it first?
Well, once it's voted on, there's
We
no
do,
discussion.
all right. Is there any
required.
discussion about this?
Yeah, I feel kind of strongly here that we're talking about the taxpayers' money. We're not hiding
That's
anything.
right.
We're
We
not
have
criticizing Shannon or anything. It's not her evaluation that we're talking about. It's her job description.
This
And
is
it's
not a
an
review.
error.
We're not
Well,
reviewing her.
It's an error that has been made in the reporting and voting on the job description process. It wasn't our board that did it, but we've got to correct it. And I
Well-
think it's a piece of public business.
Okay, can I respond to that? It was voted on or chosen that Gary and myself were going to do the evaluation for Shannon.
Right.
And we did meet one time, and we had no job description.
Right.
We were just there looking at the evaluation form and checking each line after discussion. And at the end of that session, we thought about it, and then after conversation the next day, we decided we wanted to meet some more about it. That, you know, in certain parts we were far away, certain
Right.
parts we were close. There was never discussion about having a job description. And we were about to sign an evaluation form, except that.
We assumed the job description
But we
was in
never
place.
even mentioned the words job description. So there we were about to, we sat there and we were doing the evaluation, and the only difference was that we realized that we needed to look at it again, you know, and try to work out some of the things. So in the meantime, I had asked Shannon for a job description after that and she gave me something, a few pieces of paper, and the title was Position Title, Administrative Assistant to the Newfane Selectboard. And that is her title here.
That, yeah.
And so in handwriting, it said 2012, but that's what I got. So there, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of a job description. And for some reason, then in the background, this was decided that this was not appropriate.
It's not appropriate. There are no signatures on that form, nor can any form be produced, which shows the signatures that that form was voted on and approved by any select board.
Well, that's maybe true.
So,
Then, wait, then the next thing was that all of a sudden there were position descriptions of town of Dover that was sent, and we don't live in Dover. And it could have been something we could make reference to.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was something else, said Town of Dover Office Manager job description. And I'm not really sure why we got that, because that's not her title, and
I
that's
can
not her
explain
job.
that. I can explain that one.
And so here we are. We have 3 different,
Actually 4, because there's a 2007 version of
Right.
the job
There is a
description.
Right.
And it's
2007.
the same condition.
Well,
It's, yeah, there's very
different.
few
It's a little,
changes.
it's.
No, I mean, it is also not signed by a
That's
select
true.
board,
That's true.
nor shown that it was
Okay.
voted.
I might be able to simplify everything.
I'd like to add my
Go
input
ahead.
as well.
And then maybe I can simplify.
Okay. Basically, the 2012, I did a lot of research. I remember that Shannon did resign working in 2012 and moved. And that the select board of 2012 had to come up, they had to hire. And they came up with a revised 2007. They must have had the 2007 that you were hired under first in the beginning. I don't have it in front of me, but and they revised it. And I tried to find that revised copy. And so I realized they did this in the summer, because I think you left it in July, I think. And so I went into the archives of BCTV, thank you very much for keeping archives, and I went to find the select board meeting in June.
And I went into the vault, met with the town clerk, and went through all the records, the official records of the town of Newfane, to find the action that related to the 2012 job description. It does not exist.
Well, it does exist, but
Well, not in the office.
no, it's not kept here. But in 2012, and I think it was June 7th, they had a select board meeting on a Thursday. John Mack was the chair, and there were several people in there. So I actually talked to Mike about this, and I said, Mike, there does seem to be a new job description, because I didn't want to have to write a whole new job description. We've already done that so many times. And he said that he would call Chris Droop and see if she kept a copy, because he happened to say, Chrissy doesn't ever, she keeps everything. And so he called her, and she sent us a copy of the revised job description that they were getting ready to interview. They were getting ready to interview candidates to replace Shannon's position when she moved on. And this was, according to Chris Drew, this 2012 was the one that they presented to, I believe they hired Pat Grace, and this was the one that they used. And that's what Chris Droop told me. So that's the reason I have the 2012 copy.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes,
When was all of this done, all this research and talking back and forth?
last month.
Yep, over the last week.
Well, it was last month, because this last week. Now, I did this,
I mean, this was done all this
I just
research
did
and
this-
talking
I've
was done
got-
since our last select board meeting, is
Right,
that
but
correct?
you know, I can gather information. Anyone, it's
Mhm.
perfectly legal. I don't have to get an okay from the board to gather information.
I understand.
So I guess, all right, is this a good job description then? or not?
It is. It
No,
has a
it's
few
not.
things that I think we might want to change.
The reason I suggested looking at Dover's was not because I want to be town administrator or because I like Dover
Nobody ever
better.
said that.
It was because it was a very well-written document. It encompassed what I do much better than the one I have. Me doing the job knows a lot better that that job description doesn't fit what I do because I do it every day. So I know the parts that are missing and I know the parts that I used to do, but that doesn't really fit anymore, so they should probably be taken off. So the reason I suggested that one was not because they still have one, but because it was a good document, and it doesn't stop being a good document. So in the end, absent all the back and forth and talking, I took my job description that I currently have and I marked it up, and I took theirs and I marked it up. And using Carol's, the ones that she rewrote for the road foreman and the road crew, I merged them all to make a document that fits what I do. And it didn't take that long.
Do you want to
So,
propose that
did
as
you want
a,
to-
I would love to hand it out
Review it?
if you want to see it.
well, yeah, I think
Yeah,
you,
we would love to see
that's
it.
the whole purpose of why we're here. is
Absolutely.
We don't have a job description.
We don't
need to
have
it.
one that we're happy with. The
Well, what's in the
2000,
2012, it's not.
well, you should have
I
it. The
don't
2012,
have it.
It's very similar to the 2007. It
Anybody
changes
wants to
some
look at it?
words here and there.
yeah,
But it still has some things that I
Wanna look
actually
at it?
don't really do anymore because of the way the state mandates have changed, the way just this job has changed, the way select boards have changed. You used to have all retired people who actually came in and had office hours. You don't have that anymore unless, Carol, you want to come in for 10 hours a week. Really? So, you know, the nature of the job changed and the job description didn't really follow it. There's things that I do now that are not listed in there. Dover's was incorrect in that they have a board of auditors that does the town report. We don't have that, so it falls on me. So there were things about that one that didn't fit, but there are things about mine that didn't fit. And then there were things that I do that weren't on either one. So I added those in. So
Well-
I'm hoping what I did was, and like I said, nobody knows what I do better than I do.
Right, absolutely.
So
I think that I'm very happy
I
to
tried to
include that
encompass
in
it.
our review.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
would definitely want to look and see what you did. Are you kidding? This is very helpful.
I have
Um,
copies if you want them.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Are we going to approve something tonight, or I think we should actually take it home and look at it, and
Does it have pictures?
does it have
Thank you.
pictures? No, I don't think so. Yeah, absolutely, because you have to also note that it is up to, only the board can write and approve
Correct.
a job description.
Absolutely.
But we certainly can glean from an experienced person, worker. And that's what we're so thankful that you spent the time to give us your wisdom and your suggestions and your advice. This is very important to us because, you know, we come and go every 3 or 4 or 5 years. I don't know, Mike might stay here forever, but, and no. And so yes, we definitely, I'm happy to have this. And, wow, single spaced, I don't know if I can read it now.
Would
So,
we
but-
want to, would we want to put this on the agenda for
I
Monday's
think we
meeting?
do. And we will
For
finalize
next
it.
select board
Next Monday,
meeting.
yeah.
The
Is
it
budget
next
meeting?
Monday.
You won't
You
see
mean-
me here.
Well,
You
come
mean
and
the
find
budget
you.
meeting?
Huh?
We have a budget meeting on Monday.
Yeah? You know what Monday is?
Oh,
That
Yeah,
week's a
Memorial
that
Day.
week's a holiday.
Yeah, it's Memorial Day, so, or not Memorial, yeah.
Not Memorial
it's,
Day.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
I
So
think
we won't be
Saturday is
meeting.
Veterans Day.
so
Huh?
Isn't Saturday Veterans
I think
Day?
Saturday is Veterans Day.
But the
Right,
official
right.
is taken on Monday.
What date are you talking about, Karen? What's
I
the
believe
date?
it's the 9th. What is
I think we were
This is
using
the 13th.
Friday
Oh,
for,
it's the 13th.
Oh, November 13th. Is
Yeah,
that a holiday?
that's an
No, it
official
doesn't
town
say it's a
holiday, legal
holiday.
holiday.
if
It
it's on a
says right here,
Saturday,
you
we
see
take
this
the
right
Friday,
here?
but if it's on a
Chris?
Sunday, we take the Monday.
Isn't
It's-
the
it
federal
says it
holiday
right
on
here,
Monday?
No,
Saturday.
but it's probably a federal holiday on Monday,
It doesn't say it here.
because it's,
I don't have that. It just
Well,
says-
this one, on the 9th, October 9th, is a holiday, and it's in red on a
oh,
Monday. But this particular one,
it doesn't say federal.
I don't know, I guess somebody can shut up.
Let's see.
Here, it's, Saturday,
This is just
November
saying
11th
Saturday.
is Veterans Day. And then on Monday, it doesn't say that it's a holiday.
What is that about?
I don't know.
I don't know, the personnel policies go by, if the holiday falls on a Saturday, you take the Friday, and if it falls on a Sunday, you take the Monday.
Uh-huh.
So, we'll all be here Monday, but
Okay. So we
I
have
hope they
to,
don't take Friday out, they got too much work to do.
I don't think they were going to.
Saturday, November the 11th is when it's going
Right.
to be observed this year.
right,
So they're not taking it on Monday.
Not taking
But the
Monday.
town,
The town's not taking Monday.
Well, the federal government's not taking Monday.
the federal government says it's taking it on Monday,
No,
Mike,
they're,
can you
they're
finish
saying
this?
the federal holiday will be on the 11th.
on Saturday.
Yeah, which is the actual day of the armistice.
Mhm.
It's hard to move that.
So what,
So back to,
back to square one. When are we meeting next, that we could discuss
could
this?
you be here Monday? If they're-
No, it's hunting season, I don't,
Right.
I may be hunting.
Oh, okay. Well, bring us
If I was here, you wouldn't want me here.
So do we have any further discussion on when we're meeting?
well, I had written it down that we have it on next Monday, but I didn't realize,
All these
you know,
other,
the thing about the holiday. But if it's not a holiday, I'm willing to come.
motion to table till a time certain, Monday, November the 13th.
We had already
we
actually
had
made that.
done that, but
done
then
that
we got
already.
sidetracked thinking
No, I'm saying that
We
we
didn't
had
have a motion.
voted on it in the
that
past,
we would have to re-vote if we do change it, but
but if
No.
it's the same, we
I'm
don't,
happy with coming on Monday.
yeah, I'll come. on
No, this
Monday.
is moving this item to that date, not the date itself.
I see.
We already have business scheduled for
Oh,
that date.
okay.
It is a budget meeting, but we certainly could do something more than budget. Or would you rather go until the regular meeting to discuss the job description? To come up with a finalized job description?
Sounds good.
What do you think, Mike? Wait till the next
Yeah, wait
meeting,
till the regular meeting.
to the regular meeting, and
Regular
Chris too,
meeting?
So,
right?
motion to table till time certain, November 20th, regular
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. And it is something that can be done without an executive session, because we're not talking about employment of a person.
Okay,
Right.
I have a question
Sure.
going back, because in the summertime, you, as the chairperson, said that we needed to get these evaluations in, and you really wanted them in by Labor
Absolutely.
Day. And that was very important, and then I said, I can't do it on Labor Day, and then we said, well, I mean, for my position. And then you said, okay, but we have to get it done soon after that. And then today, I was informed that there's really no rush in getting this done. So what is the actual thing?
There is a rush to get this done.
But it's
Then
better,
how-
But we have had many hurdles that we did not, that I personally did not expect. One is, we didn't have an updated, revised job description. And you cannot give an evaluation to anyone. You cannot review their work without some kind of a description of their job.
But when you're saying some kind of a description, we
It
have
has
some
to-
kind of a
but
description.
You didn't know, you didn't have a legal
No,
description
it's
of that
not
job. It's not a legal description.
You can't use an illegal job description.
You can't leave one that, there's a bigger issue here.
There is a bigger issue.
And that is that the work keys of the town select board are recorded in Shannon's notebook, but they are not recorded in a place where the public can see them at any time, the town clerk. So the actions of the board are not researchable back in the vault with all the other town records. And we need to change that. We need to make sure that our records, that when we pass this, we need to all sign it, and then a copy of it, a true and attested copy, needs to be given to the town clerk to be stored in the vault, as well as Shannon's notebook.
The other problem was.
I'm actually not in favor of that idea, but I am in favor of the idea of having a record that is easily accessible for the select board, and also having two different ones. And I spoke to Abby Friedman, who is one of the directors, would you call her, or she's actually, I don't really know her title, but I talked to her about making sure what kind of ideas could she give us, suggestions could she give us to make sure and ensure that we have easy access as a select board to personal records and job descriptions and original type of information. And she said that there should always be two files. There should be a paper file that Shannon is the custodian of records, and that should be on a job description somewhere. She's the custodian of the select board's records.
As is the town clerk.
Yes, but Shannon is the one who VLCT believes is the custodian of our records. And so basically she suggested that we have paper files and paper records like in these books, but that we also have set up, and VLCT will help us set something up like this, electronic records storage with a board folder, a select board folder. And the select board has the password to be able to access that folder. They may not be able to, and she doesn't know how, she's going to work with you.
For that.
This was her idea. In addition to paper copies filed in cabinets. And also she said that even if there are signatures on the job description, the most crucial thing on the job description is the date. And the date is the part that is signed. More than just adding your name, oh yes, I saw this, and it was, yeah.
I'd just like to say this. I love VLCT to death, but their idea has already failed. This is not Shannon's fault. But she did not have a copy of the duly attested, signed official document passed by the select board of the town of Newfane.
2012.
And neither did the town clerk. I've never worked or been in a town that did not have a master record of everything passed by the town in the town clerk's safe. That's why they have a safe.
The other big issue is that in that June meeting, they said, are there any changes? No. They never made a motion to actually approve the job description that they had been sending around via email. And that's one of the biggest problems with just talking about stuff on email, because when they actually got to a meeting where there would have been a record of it being approved in the minutes, they said, does anyone have any changes? Nope. We have no idea what they were, we believe it to be that 2012 version that they were looking at.
Yep.
But without minutes or, something saying a motion to approve it, there's nothing.
Well, they did send I think John
What's, just reading this up,
John
what's
said-
an exempt position, what's that supposed to mean?
Exempt versus non-exempt. Non-exempt means you track your hours, you're entitled to overtime over 40 hours. Exempt means you don't track your time, you're not entitled to any overtime at all.
But it's still a
Well,
40-hour,
it's got to
Yes,
do
so
with who you
these-
manage.
but it's still a 40-hour week position, right?
Exactly. But with the non-exempt, the town is required to track the hours and make sure that if I work over 40, they pay overtime. Which, in what I've read, they don't like salary non-exempt because you're defeating your own purpose.
Yeah, that certainly
It's
can,
not a
that
huge
certainly can
deal,
be
but-
tweaked. I mean, that certainly can be removed from there, that, as a category. But I understand it differently, but we don't even have to have it on there. It's not that important.
Really, yeah, it's not a big issue, they just,
So we can finish this up. Anybody else have any suggestions or ideas, or you're just going, so the task before you is that you are going to look at the one that is barely hanging on as the most current, but it is hanging on. We do actually.
You have no proof of that.
Well, we have no proof that where it is, but we do have that it was in an email, and it was sent by, John to, all of the board members, as well as, Shannon got a CC of this.
That doesn't clear the open meeting law. You
They-
can't do business by email.
What did that say?
I'm saying that you still have no proof that this was ever passed. I'm just saying that we need to make sure, for Shannon's benefit and
Yes,
for the board's
absolutely.
benefit
Yeah,
and for
that's-
all of our employees' benefit, that their job descriptions are properly passed, properly recorded, and properly available, so their work can be properly evaluated.
That's it. And
That's it.
We've had this problem for some time now, because we are involved in following the personnel policy. That's the job we were hired for. We were hired, voted to this job to follow the policies of the town. And in the personnel policy, the town of Newfane, the select board is in charge of evaluating their employees, giving them a review annually. That means every year. This has not been being done. And then when we decide that we're going to follow the personnel policy, and we are actually going to do that this year, we cannot find current or even any job descriptions for these positions. So therein lies the problem. And this is why we are going around and around and trying to find information and ask questions and rewrite job descriptions and it's a long process. And you talk about us getting it done. I would have loved to have had this done months ago, but who knew that it was going to be this difficult to do this? So now we are on one of the, we need to get this done. And so we're gonna have this done by the next meeting. And so we're gonna have this job description finished. And so I want you to make sure that you have everything ready. If you have any problems, you want to scratch something, you want to add something, you can take Shannon's ideas. I'm sure they're terrific. And you can merge them together, put what you think, because it is our job to write the job description.
So then you're not gonna have it done by next week, the next select board, we're just gonna come in with our.
We're gonna write it.
Our ideas
We are going to write
that
it.
night.
That's it. Be ready, be prepared.
Well, you're gonna mark up this document.
You're gonna mark them up and you're going to say, this is what I think. You'll write out a draft. How else do you think you could have this done?
You're the one who's saying it has to be done that night. I don't see how
I
it
would,
can be done.
yeah, we can't let Shannon hang,
Well,
for
we've been
months.
letting her hang
I
for a
know.
long time already.
right.
That's the whole
Because we
problem.
have not had a job description.
I don't think it's us that's been letting her hang.
You cannot give an employee a review without a job description. It's just illegal.
So 2 weeks from tonight, we'll go over it and see how it looks.
And we will end up.
Did we
with-
get a vote on the motion to table till a time certain?
No.
So,
Do we have a motion to table?
I'll call the question.
Oh.
Call the question to vote on whether or not this is gonna be tabled till a time certain. You have a motion on the floor.
I don't even remember the motion on the floor, do you?
Motion on the floor was to table this till a time certain, which is November the 20th, our regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay, and we've been discussing it. We had a second. We've been
All
discussing
right,
it.
we're calling a vote.
Yes.
All those in favor of tabling this and come, till November, what was it, 20th? And with the task of, writing and agreeing upon a job description for the position of administrative assistant to the Newfane Selectboard. All those in
Can I
vote?
make a comment?
Well,
Well, they called the question, right?
I called the
Oh, we have
question,
to-
yes, so
we
you
have to
can't.
vote. All
have to
those in
vote it.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay with, I need more clarification before I can say yes.
Okay, so it does pass. The vote is, Chris, did you vote aye? Okay, 4 in favor and 1 against. Okay, there we go. It passes. We will be prepared to come up with a finished job description on the 20th. All right. I don't know what to do with my agenda. Where is it?
We must be running out of fun things to do.
I think it's time to,
Correspondence?
correspondence. We had a lot of correspondence, although most of it's covered up now with all kinds of paper.
Actually, on the agenda was also zoning administrator job description, but in reviewing that, that is not under the purview of the select board, it's under the purview of the planning commission, so I have forwarded it to them.
I saw that. I think that was very good that you caught that. Thank you.
Planning and DRB or just planning?
Planning commission is, by statute, really oddly in charge of the zoning administrator.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, so.
We had a report from, in our correspondence, we had like a 3 or 4 or 5 page report from the state police outlining all the work that they've done for the town of Newfane since I believe it was February? June through August, is that it? Yeah, but it still was a lot. We're not going to read it out loud, but it is for you to take and review. We are going to read something from, is this Tom Axonora? Yeah. Sorry, Tom, if I mispronounced that name. It's called the Hunter Brook Road and surrounding area residents. Hunter Brook Road is a 4-mile dirt road extending from Dover Road in Newfane to U Road in East Dover. The majority of the road is off-grid, and only a few homes near the Dover Road side have power. The residents of the camps found at the midpoint of the road near the Newfane-Dover-Marlboro line have enjoyed living off the grid with the peaceful and quiet setting of the Vermont mountains. Recently, a house has been built at 644 Hunter Brook Road that is about 1 mile from the closest power lines. Over the past year or more, the present residents continue to run a generator many hours during the day as well as throughout the night. The peace of the day and night is disturbed continuously. In addition, a high-pitched humming noise that can be heard during the dead of night or still of the morning has also started with the occupancy of 644 Hunter Brook Road. This nuisance noise may be coming from a charging system or motor. One of the fundamental attributes of a rural environment is the peace and quiet it provides. Numerous complaints have already been made to both towns. Attached is the Vermont statute 1022, noise in nighttime. We, the undersigned landowners and friends of the peace and quiet of Vermont, respectively plead and call on the town of Marlborough, the town of Newfane, and the state police to help us resolve this public and private nuisance. Please help us protect our rural character for everyone, which will allow us to enjoy our property in a peaceful and enjoyable manner as we have in the past. And it is signed by all the residents. And there's
Yeah,
one,
but
two,
I know where it
three,
is. You
4,
can hear it.
5, 6,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10 signatures. Take a look at that.
They didn't actually attach the statute, like,
It
it
didn't,
says,
oh,
it says it's attached, but it wasn't, so I
it wasn't attached,
I found
but
it.
there's a separate, sort of attached statute. So we need to,
Isn't the statute, it's after 10 o'clock at night?
it is after 10 o'clock.
That is bothering them.
All through the night, they're saying.
Which is a state statute, and beyond calling the state police, there's,
So, it, you know.
So what do they want them to do, run power all the way up in there? On the road? Because they probably won't like that either.
no.
I don't believe from where that house is to where he
The
lives,
644?
you can hear it.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to take a trip up there.
Where all the rest of the
Maybe at
people
night.
live though? Where's all the rest of the people live that's all signed that petition? I mean, they're all that close to
They
that
are.
house?
Yep,
And the houses are pretty far in between up to there, aren't
The
they?
house that's supposedly the problem is in Marlboro.
Oh, I thought it was the one,
No.
it's the one just over the line?
Yeah,
I thought there was electricity down to there.
maybe he doesn't like electricity. But it really is, legally, it's a civil matter. It's not something the select board can even,
If it's in Marlboro, we don't even have to pay attention to it.
but I mean, beyond maybe the select board making a phone call to the state police and saying, hey, can you help them out?
where's the town
There's
police?
really nothing the town can do.
Wouldn't they not want to contact Green Mountain to get a work order in for a power line to be run to these people's property?
Maybe.
Maybe, or maybe they don't really want a power line.
That's what I
It's
said.
in Marlboro, we
Yeah.
don't need to worry about it.
Oh, that's true.
Point blank, end of subject.
Our dog is not in this race.
So is that what, we're asking Shannon to write a letter back to this person and say, our dog is not in this race?
That was not the motion.
I could put it more eloquently.
All right. So we have.
But we have no jurisdiction.
Okay, so Shannon, would you please write them a letter and tell them that we did review it, we read it, it's on record, and that we read it, and, that it's not in our territory. All right, Wyndham Solid Waste Management District, there's another big letter from them, and what I'm going to just say is I'm gonna announce that we received it, and it shows all the good work they're doing, and, they're trying to be transparent and be held accountable for what they do. So anybody who wants to know, I'm going to give this to Shannon and she's going to put it in her file. And if you'd like to go through it and read it, it's there. I do believe that's it. So it is time for pay orders. Thank you very much.
Is that an appointment thing?